Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us at the end of day one at the Avalanche Summit. We are going to talk today about fiat on and off ramps and the convergence of crypto in payments. So, thank you for my esteemed panel for joining us today. I'd like you each first to go through and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about how each of your companies is navigating this space.
Okay, so hi everyone. Nice to see you all here. My name's Sam Collins. I'm with Paysafe, the Paysafe Group. I'm in charge of digital assets and director of digital assets over there. A little bit about Paysafe is it's an older company, 25 years old, which is unusual at crypto events. You don't tend to get companies that are that old. We're a publicly listed company traded in New York. About 3,500 employees. And I think what our main strengths today is we work with many merchants across the globe in about 180 different countries. And we work with, we provide payment rails, right? So it's about getting money from place A to place B, generally between clients to merchants and then back. Where we really diversify and stand out from perhaps other brands you might know is we're very strong in what we call APMs, or alternative payment methods. Which would be things like cash, right? It's about using cash to pay online, for example. How does that work? That's something we're very strong in. Where are we strong? For example, Europe, Africa, Latin America. And we have digital wallets, many different products that include crypto, where we offer crypto trading today. And as a company, with my colleagues here today, we're really trying to tackle this question, right? About the convergence of traditional payment and crypto, and how we can bridge the gap between these two worlds for a seamless experience. So, yeah, that's it for Paysafe and myself.
Thanks, Sam.
Hi, I'm Laurent Descout, CEO, co-founder at Neo. We're Barcelona-based neobank, and basically we are the fiat part of this presentation today. We're offering payments and collection accounts so that companies across Europe can easily pay in multi-currency their bills, or they can collect from their clients. We are very active with some of our clients, paying themselves on crypto exchanges and so on, and we are putting a lot of emphasis in making work the fiat world and the crypto world together. It's not an easy one. Banks are not always that supportive, and we try to be that bank. And very happy to be and sharing this panel with all those speakers today.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Guy. I'm with Fireblocks. So for those of you who don't know Fireblocks, we are basically the go-to infrastructure, crypto infrastructure for any company that wants to offer crypto as part of their service, or wants to hold on to their crypto. So we are servicing from companies all the way from the traditional suspects, like the biggest exchanges in the world, and the wallets, and the hedge funds, and VC in the crypto world. But also we are servicing more traditional companies like, for example, Revolut and Robinhood. You can see the logos here, and even for like banks that you can see the logo there, and also payment companies. Basically provide the infrastructure in terms of the security and the orchestration capabilities to run your crypto business. And specifically about myself, I'm from the payments team. I'm leading go-to-market there. I joined Fireblocks actually through an acquisition of my previous company that was doing blockchain-based payments. And we are very excited to talk about crypto and payments and fiat in this panel, together here with our friends from Paysafe and Neo. So happy to be here.
Thanks very much. Okay, so each of you come at this from a slightly different perspective, but I'd like to ask all of you, what are the biggest challenges that you see with this integration of fiat payments into the Web3 platforms? Guy, why don't we start with you, since you're holding the mic?
I think the biggest challenge that we see today is that, there is this concept that everybody wants in this room maybe, or in this conference, that everything will run on chain, all crypto, everything is running on crypto, and this beautiful idea. However, still the world is running on fiat, or at least 99.999% of it. Therefore, there is such a big importance to have this connectivity between fiat rails and crypto rails. And the challenges over there, and I'm sure my friends here can even talk even more interesting about that than me, is that there is always, no matter what the workflow is, you need to go from fiat to crypto, or to go from crypto to fiat. And because fiat is a very regulated, as rightfully so, concept, let's call it, There are a lot of challenges to go in and out, and I think it's really, really important for crypto to be mainstream. You have to have those venues of how am I getting in with, you know, with good enough fees, with good enough like economics around that, and how do I get out of it in order for it to be like mainly or mostly adopted by everyone. So I think the main challenge is the in and outs, which is the on and off ramps. But maybe I'll let my colleagues here to give more lights on that.
Thank you. Bouncing back on that, I think from our perspective, when we onboard a new client and we offer him a new IBAN, a new fresh account, and he's ready to be paid and to pay all over the world, the main challenge when he wants to use crypto, despite the big size of his project and so on, is always coming with compliance and regulatory issues. This is where we're very happy to support those clients, but we struggle very much in getting some businesses who are able to answer the 3 Ws, which for us are what are you paying, to who and where. And some of the new, and more we see companies having made this homework and being able to supply this information, but it's true we still have a lot of potential new clients who seems to not be ready or have not really given enough thoughts on that. And for us, it's very difficult to open some banks account for them and almost defending their case toward the clearing banking system. So this is, I think, where the two worlds need to work together hand in hand so that they can converge a bit more, because otherwise there's definitely no way for the crypto to end up being turned into fiat and fiat being paid somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the guys have made excellent points. And I think just to really carry on what Laurent just said there, today, if you know, we have merchants come to us and say, hey, we want to accept fiat, we want to accept crypto. How can we help and how can we accept crypto without really holding crypto, or how can we make it stable? The main issue with crypto today, 99.9% of them, it's not a stable value, right? Crypto is supposed to be volatile. It's supposed to go up and down. That's why people trade it. But we are today clearly in the phase of trading, in the phase of volatility and speculation. And if we want to move forwards into a utility phase, we need to have more certainty of this object, these pairs of shoes that I've bought, you know, today for $50 is not, you know, didn't cost $20 the next day, you know, and I should have waited an extra day. So that whole the whole stability side of it is really interesting. Now, of course, everyone's thinking right now, stablecoins, absolutely, stablecoins. But we need to educate, you know, comes back to compliance and regulation. We need to educate both consumers, merchants alike, to understand what it is, how blockchain works, and, you know, not talk about the specifics of it, but how can they leverage it so it's cheaper for the user, it's cheaper for the merchant, it's faster, it's more secure, it's on the blockchain forever. You know, it takes away some of the shady aspects of business in certain areas. And how can we really make sure that we work together to make it a seamless user experience, that they can go from fiat to crypto without big barriers of entry and having to do large amounts of KYC and depending on jurisdictions as well, because there is no global jurisdiction for crypto. There is no global regulation for crypto today. So everyone here today comes from different parts of the world. You all have your own challenges in your own jurisdictions back home or wherever you may be. So it's really important that we work with regulators at the very top, you know, and then the merchants and the consumers alike to provide the correct experience for each other.
So you mentioned stablecoins, and I'd like to dig a little bit deeper there. What do you think the role of stablecoins specifically is going to be in facilitating Web3 payments?
Yeah, huge, huge. I mean, personally, the way we see it, stablecoins is the future of remittance. You know, it might not be today. Today, globally, 400 million people own crypto, roughly. That's been growing at a CAGR of 33%. So every year, the compound annual growth rate is 33% for crypto ownership. 400 million out of 8 billion is what, 5%? It's tiny, right? It's tiny. How do we get to that next phase of adoption where we move away from speculation into utility? It's the stability and therefore stablecoins. So will we get to 100% adoption with stablecoins? Maybe not. I'm not that optimistic, but that's definitely the next wave. I mean, we've seen, you know, sponsors here today. You know, we've seen people, good companies issue stablecoins based on fiat. And again, crypto and fiat cannot be separated. They need to be connected. The convergence of crypto and fiat needs to happen together, and stablecoins are a way of enabling that. Is that the final form? Hey, who knows? Who knows what we can come up with in the next 5 years? But today, where we stand with the technologies available to us today and the current, you know, climate and understanding of crypto globally, stablecoins really are, in our opinion, important to facilitate payments, definitely.
Yeah, totally agree on this. From NEO, we serve only corporate treasurers. So all our clients are companies. Basically, they are paying Asia goods that they will import to Europe, or maybe they are making some salaries payment overseas. I don't know any treasurers who's willing to put at risk the value of the salaries he's paying on his staff company when he pays to Brazil or to China, or whenever he imports some good from Asia. So the stability of the value of money is critical. This is probably one of the key pillars of why we've been using some fiat currencies over time. And if stablecoins wants to take over on international trade, it has to bring exactly the same type of security. So for us, it's going to be stable or it's not going to be. Doesn't mean that we can have some tokens approach, which are the value of an investment or collectionable items and so on. But when it comes about payments, you can't take the risk as a corporate treasurers to pay something and not being sure that whoever is going to receive it 2 seconds after is going to receive something less. Needless to speak about the accounting issues and so on. So stability is definitely the key here. And this is why we've been heavy supporters of stablecoins approach process from the start, and we see a lot of potential in that.
I agree with everything. Let's think if I can add something interesting, or we can move to the next question. But you know, the beautiful thing about blockchains, or why we're even talking about at least, you know, payments and blockchain in the same, you know, sentence, adding these two words together, because blockchains can be, we view blockchain as another type of a payment system. Just like, you know, Fedwire, ACH, card networks, cash, it's another form to move value from one side to another. And this is beautiful, and it's interesting because those blockchains are, in some cases, are better than the traditional fiat systems, because these blockchains are, A, they're 24/7, they're actually 24/7, unlike other payment system, and B, they are truly global. Anybody can get connected to them, unlike, for example, if you want to participate in the Fedwire, you need to be, you know, an American bank, or if you want to be in the card networks, you need to be a Visa and a MasterCard member. So these are very powerful concept. This is a very powerful concept. However, if you wouldn't have the stability to run the value, a stable value over the systems, they make no sense for remittance, for example, cross-border transfers, paying for your T-shirt online if it's for pay-ins, or even pay out your merchants or pay out your vendors. If it's not stable, there is no point to it. Today, crypto, you know, the main use case is around, you know, speculation. I want it to go up, I want it to go down. When we're talking about payments, it's a little bit more about utility. It's about moving value in a more efficient way, faster, cheaper, more visible, more predictable. Therefore, stablecoin is so important.
So let's talk about what is maybe one of the most interesting aspects of this from where I sit, and that is regulation and regulatory hurdles. So how do you all see regulation right now, and what are you going to do to address any potential issues or hangups or hurdles that we see in the coming months and years?
Start with it. So regulation is something that is not linked to crypto, fiat, or whatever. Those are laws that you have to comply with, whether you're accepting some cash payment in an airport or if you're making a payment of a T-shirt somewhere else. So it's not something where you can just say, okay, I'm digital and that's not for me because I'm modern. And no, you have to adapt. We have to make sure that all the new payment platforms are in line with those regulations, bringing the level of information that the regulator would be looking for if they were stepping at your door and making an investigation. I think what's very interesting from our perspective when we look at the blockchain technology is that at the end it allows for way more information circulation that we have in traditional payment. In international payment that you used to have with SWIFT, which are like standards from the 70s, you can just put 60 characters of information in a payment. You have to explain what you're paying on behalf of who, to where it has to go in 60 characters. That's where blockchain brings something which sometimes banks may not have understood or don't want to look at, but the nice thing about it is like you can totally explain within some lines of code, the entire explanation around the goods you're buying, who you're buying from, how you want this, even a smart contract work, and so on. So that's, I think, where the future of where blockchain payment base is going to take it all. Is like not only it's going to go way faster, it's going to make circulate way more information, and that's going to end up even having a way safest payment as what we could have in a more traditional way. So I see a lot of positive things in the future. The road is going to be bumpy. I have to explain that. A lot of regulators spread across the world, but I think they're even understanding that banks as well need to play their part of the game, but we'll see that happening. I think from a payment perspective, we've been in that business for more than 10 years now, and it's always about, okay, give us more info, and all this info is in the blockchain, or it can be lodged there. So that's for us something that's very interesting around it.
Yeah, regulation is, look, we have an opportunity, or I say we, regulators. Unfortunately, it's not us in this room, but regulators have an opportunity today to build regulation that makes sense in line of what the technology is. Taking something like in Europe, I'm going to be very Eurocentric here, I apologize, but it's probably where I have a bit more knowledge, is if you take something like MiFID II, and you try and copy-paste that from MiFID II for securities over to crypto, that might not make sense. Crypto is different. Crypto and blockchain, these technologies have different capabilities where, you know, smart contracts weren't around and were not being used, and now they are and can be used. And I think it could be interesting for regulators, and I must say, to be fair, there are conversations happening here of how can we create regulation that A, promotes growth and competition, fair competition, B, and these are not in order, these are all at the same time, right? B, protects consumers and users from things that can happen. I mean, we were all around in November last year when something happened, and we don't want these sort of things to happen. We want consumers to be protected. And C, how can we leverage the technology in a way where it's not burdensome to either companies, be they exchanges or wallets or merchants or retail end users. It's a really interesting time, and we sort of sit at a crossroads of how do we approach this? Now, definitely, as a regulated and public company such as Paysafe, we do welcome regulation. We welcome the clarity that it can bring. The challenge will be, as always, is you are going to have groups, be it single countries or a variety of countries, which will adopt regulations which will be different. And this is probably what you were referring to when you said it was bumpy, is not everyone from the US to the EU to Hong Kong or Australia is going to have the same sort of regulation. So we need to be patient and understanding with regulators. Yes, it can be frustrating. Yes, we might say, why do we have to provide this and that? It doesn't make sense, but it will be something positive. And obviously MiCA has now been voted upon. It passed, it was favored. There's a few steps to go, but maybe in the next 18 months we can expect it. And at least that should bring some harmonization across Europe as a start. And hopefully, my expectations are quite high, having read the text, hopefully we can hopefully see that as sort of a global standard that can be copied upon, maybe. But
I was actually going to ask selfishly, how do you see that dovetailing with what the U.S. is doing these days? I know you said European-centric, but I'm going to ask anyway.
No. I mean, the U.S. is, I'm not too sure. It's a question that I would love to be able to answer. I'm not too sure where the U.S. is going right now with it. One day everything's a security, but Bitcoin, the next, there's questions being asked and holes being poked in that. So I think the US, EU, whoever it may be, there's still a lot of questions that need to be asked. Is it a commodity? Is it security? Is it something else? What is it? How do we classify blockchain and crypto? Should stablecoins be classified the same way? Should the capabilities that certain proof of stake coins provide us, such as staking, be considered collective investment schemes? These are all questions that need to be answered. And we have to do it not from an approach of bringing the hammer down to shut down crypto, and not from an approach of no regulation just fosters an innovative market. It needs to be a balance between the two. So it's an interesting time for sure.
Yeah, so I heard a couple of you talk about safety and protection. That makes me curious about how each of your companies are going to deal with the issues of security and privacy as they pertain to fiat and payments.
Yeah, so I can talk definitely about security. As Fireblocks, at its core, it's a security company. So you know, in the most basic level, we kind of took forward what we call the MPC technology, the multi-party computation technology to secure digital assets. It's basically a way to, you know, kind of take a private key and divide it into a few pieces, and nobody can actually fully control the actual private key. So this is provide very highly securely, you know, measurements in place. Therefore, where Fireblocks is basically the go-to security company today in the industry. So from that perspective, I think any company that wants to work, you know, with digital assets, especially serious traditional companies that their CFOs or their CISOs will ask some questions, should feel pretty comfortable with that type of technology. And regarding privacy, you know, there are questions around it because, you know, big companies, if you realize what the wallets that they are using, you can basically look at the on-chain and understand what are the volumes of a public company. You can track their, you know, what's happening, how the business is doing. So there are issues there, and there are some solutions over there that we are looking on, and the industry is looking on and looking at. But you know, Fireblocks is not really in the money flow. Okay, as much as the same as we are not a custodian, we are providing the custody technology. Therefore, you know, it's more of things, challenges that our customers are needing to deal with.
I think from our perspective, probably when we started the Neo and the banking platform like 5 years ago, clients' main questions were like, okay, who are you guys? What's your balance sheet? How my funds are safe with you? I'm not saying we don't have those questions anymore. Maybe having a bit of experience and being live for a while now is a bit saving, even though lately we have those questions sort of coming back. But what surprised me a lot across the last years is I'm having those questions from the CFOs and the treasurers like, okay, what's the security around the platform? Is it going to be hacked? Is there any risk that we're going to have a breach of data and so on? Type of questions that honestly used to be like IT staff focused. No, they are top of the list of even CFO and treasurer. So definitely, when we start thinking about platform, which are not going to be only fiat, where you can have all the good rules around two-factor identification and whatever token solutions you may have. Definitely smart contracts, rules of application, making sure that your platform is going to be extremely granular and you can offer your clients a full customization on, okay, in my organization, I want this person to be able to do that, this department to do this. And really like offering a very bespoke security type of processes is something that we see a lot on client side, and being able to offer that using especially the smart contract approach is something that is definitely very interesting, but definitely is a massive topic. That's becoming even topic number one, even before pricing sometimes. So that's definitely a good question.
Yeah. So let me look. We have, you know, it's great to be able to share panels with these guys because this is at the core of their business, right? But obviously, Paysafe, you know, I think roughly on our digital wallets, I have 17 million registered users. So I have, you know, we have to be responsible for the funds of 17 million people. And we need to make sure that their funds, when they look at their app today, it's the same as what they expect to see tomorrow, and we can't have issues. And there are problems, and it's not just a pure crypto problem. This is an issue where, you know, the banking system sometimes fails that, and sometimes the crypto system can fail that as well. And it's a topic that in the financial world of today, which is both traditional fiat and crypto together, there needs to be a solution here. And again, smart contracts, and there's lots of different ways that we can innovate and we can make this happen. But the convergence crypto and fiat together to provide security, whether it's through non-custodial services or cold storage services or through smart contracts or just by having it on the blockchain and registered for the, you know, all eternity, there are different approaches we can take. And it's vital that we, in our positions as the companies we represent, provide the right levels of security for both the B2B approach and B2C approach. And it's something that we're definitely keen to explore further.
So we've only got a few minutes left. So my last question to all of you, I want to talk about the future. So I know that, you know, it's almost impossible in crypto to have a crystal ball, but how do you see the future of fiat payments in Web3? And over the next, I don't know, like, what are we going to be talking about here in Avalanche at 2024, or even like, I don't know, 2030? Like, where are we going?
So my point or my view is that eventually, and I'm talking about from payments perspective in crypto, I think that eventually any company in this world will need to be connected to this new breed or new type of payment systems, just like they do today. Today, any company, doesn't matter if it's a kiosk on the street or if it's the biggest like corporation, they're still interacting with card networks, with RTGS system, with Fiat systems, with some of them with cash, with check. They're still interacting with all these payment systems. So I think that eventually, like in 10 years or whatever it is, all of them will need to interact with those blockchains because value will move over these blockchains. So I think this is the future, and I think that you know, companies like us, like Fireblocks, Paysafe, Neo, will be the companies that will help them being connected to those new rails. Okay, if it's through security orchestration, if it's through, I don't know, different payment flows. If I want to do a cross-border transfer, I can do it with stablecoin rails. On stablecoin rails, much faster, cheaper, more predictable, with more visibility. So I think that eventually any payment flow will be also on-chain.
Future 2030. I may have retired then, but first I think we'll still have some bill notes and some gold being used. That's one thing self apart. But I think from a cross-border payment perspective, what we'll be having is Fiat and blockchain. All of this will have sort of merge. I think from a client perspective, they'll just tell us, okay, look, I want this delivered there. I just don't care what you do in the kitchen cooking. It needs to go extremely fast, definitely instant. And we've all experimented lately in Europe, instant payment in euros, but there's just no reason for this not happening with your Thai bahts or with your sterlings being sent to Japan or whatever. I think that's going to be the driver here. We'll have clients going to the platform. I want to pay my supplier in that country that needs to arrive tomorrow, just down. And we'll have to figure out how this magic needs to happen. I think clients will just not even want to know.
So instead of just agreeing and parroting what the gentlemen have expertly said, I think I'll see what I'd like to see. I'll say what I'd like to see. And what I'd like to see really from a client perspective is you as, you know, someone who works hard, has a family, has a job, wants to pay for something, you're able to pay for whichever good and service you wish to. You don't want to have banks saying, but you know, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you better put your money over here with us. You don't want to have a financial advisor, a middleman saying, maybe that's not the best solution. Maybe it's over here rather than over there. Or, you know, how about this purchase over here? Or how about this? No, you need to be able to have full control and full accessibility. And it goes towards this convergence where we see traditional fiat payment rails moving into crypto and traditional crypto companies moving into payment rails. It's about having self-control at the end of the day as a user to be able to move your money instantaneously, very, very cheaply / for free, to and from various parts of the world, be it to your relatives in a very far away country, be it to a merchant just down the street. It needs to work in a way that's seamless. Will we still have fiat? Yes, absolutely. Will we still have cash? Yes, absolutely. But will we live in a world where you having cash in, you know, perhaps you're living in a country where banking isn't necessary and banking isn't something that everyone has. And you work and you just deal in cash. Why should you be subject to stricter rules on where you can move your cash internationally just because it's cash? Just because that's what you have as an access. Why do we, well, crypto definitely solves an issue between those who don't have access to all these wonderful financial solutions and opportunities that we have here, for example, in Spain. But I think that crypto will enable people to participate in financial markets, not just crypto markets, but generally financial markets, through their local means. And I really think and hope, and we are all working towards something like this, that this can be the future that we get to live in 10 years' time.
Great. Well, Fireblocks, Paysafe, Neo, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.